So hello folks, welcome to part two, yes, part two in the BM-21 Grad build from Zvezda in 35th scale. So in the last video we started the build, we started with the chassis, getting all that together. There's a few bits I've done in between off camera just to finish the chassis off, because it's very time consuming, very well detailed, and a great fit. Everything fits perfectly. It's wonderful. So in this video we're going to concentrate on the cab itself, which is kind of moving on to the sexy bit of the kit, the meat and bones of it. So I'm not going to waffle anymore. We're going to go down to the bench. We're going to start working on the cab. Just make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. From the last video, we're going for the parade version. So that's what we're going to start with. And we're going to start with the cab. And in this video, we're going to get the cab together and see how it goes, see what it looks like. See you down at the bench. So, hello folks, we're back down at the bench. As I said in the last video, the chassis are kind of completed off camera because it's a lot of small details, gluing them together, painting them. It's a very well detailed chassis. Now you have to bear in mind, I know nothing automotive. I don't know what every bit is, etc. So I've absolutely just followed the instructions. But as you can see underneath, the level of detail is pretty good, but it's a lot of work. It takes a long time to put the chassis together. The majority of the parts in the kit, I would imagine, are for this chassis. But once it's together, it does look really, really nice. So I've literally just followed the instructions, followed the color call outs, etc., with the exception of these orange ignition wires, just to add a bit of visual interest. But it is black, grey, silver or metallic aluminium, and what you can see here is just these bits in green, which are starting to build the sort of subframe, etc. According to the last video, what a lot of you guys want to see, or the overwhelming majority, is a parade type version. So we're going to keep this very clean. Otherwise, you'd be starting to add weathering, etc. to the chassis. Now, with wheeled vehicles, particularly armor and trucks and all that, where they have a very complex, or they're quite complex from an engineering point of view and very detailed, it's absolutely worth taking your time. Although this isn't really the, what would we call it, the sexy bit of the kit. This is all stuff that most of it won't be seen once the kit's together. But it's absolutely crucial that you sort of take your time, make sure you follow the instructions properly, because this is the foundation for the vehicle. So if you don't get this right, and you make some mistakes, it will come back later on and nothing will fit properly. So that would always be the issue. So it's very important that as best you can, you put the chassis and the running gear and everything together in a very methodical and try and get it as good as you can possibly get it, which is what I've done here. So that's it really for the chassis. There's not a great deal to see, but there's a great deal of work gone into it. The only things that I haven't added on as yet, and there's a reason. So there is a side step, I should say, that goes in this sort of position, and then behind the cab on the actual vehicle is this bit which holds the spare wheel. So this is in painting process at the moment because we're doing it in green. So that kind of sits behind the cab, and the side step fits onto that. So we'll call out in step 18 to put this onto the chassis, but because we're doing it in green, it would be more difficult to paint. So we're painting it off the chassis, then we're going to paint the spare wheel, which will be very easy because I'm not weathering it massively, and then that's going to go into here. And then that will go onto the chassis itself. But we're doing it in sort of slow time so that we can make sure that side step fits there, and can be folded away, etc, etc. So there's no glue with that. It can be folded up if needed. We're going to leave it out, but that's why we're doing that separate. So that's step 18 of the chassis construction, and then you get these sort of rubberized tires. So we're just knocking those back a little bit with some very minor dirt onto the tire and leaving as is, because this is going to be the parade version. We don't need to weather the wheels and tires, etc. massively, but just add a sort of bit of visual interest to it. So that's what we're doing with that. So now we're going to move on to step 20, and we're going to start constructing the actual cab of the vehicle, where the driver and his co-driver, co-pilot, crew, whatever you want to call them, sits as well. And we'll get that together. And then as we move on in further videos, we start to put the actual bit at the back, the flatbed, and the actual multi-launch rocket system itself. But for now, the chassis is done. Let's move on to the cab. Okay, folks, so we're cracking on with the cab of the vehicle. Let me move that out of the way for a second. So we've started, as you can see, 20, working our way down to 23. So this is the cab floor, basically. So as you can see, I have annotated on the instructions what colors are where. So this bit at the front being black, green, etc. Then we're adding the seat frames and the steering column gear sticks and all that sort of stuff. So off camera, what I've done is this comes in one piece, painted the floor of the cab. So primed and mist the surface of 1500 black, and then masked off. So these sections here masked off, the sides masked off, and then this section, to match the instructions, we've done in the LP56, which is dark green 2 from Tamiya. And that gives us this. And then what I've done, I've then gone in with an AK marker rubber black, which is like an off black color, very dark gray. I've done the rails for the steering, this section for the handbrake, and this sort of gaiter for the gear stick here. So as you can see, there we go, it'll focus. That's what we're left with. Now, because we're doing the parade version, we're not going to heavily weather the floor, but it does need something, because this is just basic colors. There's no fancy black basing, highlighting, any of that stuff on this yet. So all we're going to do is a very light dry brush just to accentuate some of the details. And the color I'm going to use for that is a Shabtu bone. So it is what it says. It's like a bone color, but it's great for sort of dust effects, really. Now, even on a parade version, despite how much they try and clean it, unless it's brand new out of the factory, which is very unlikely, there is going to be remnants of dust and detritus, certainly on the cab floor, because no military vehicle is ever completely clean. So just a very light dry brush along the edges, and hopefully what that will do is just start to highlight some of the details and accentuate some of the details. And bear in mind, most of this is very, very unlikely to be seen, because once the cab's together, it's going to be quite dark. Although I may leave one of the doors open in the open position, maybe the driver's door, because it's going to be a left-hand drive vehicle. So maybe leave the driver's door open so that people can see inside the cab of the vehicle. And that's all we need to do. It's really, really simple. There's schools of thought about dry brushing. Is it cheating? Is it outdated? I really like it as an effect. So you can make your own minds up on that as to whether you like the effect or not. but I think you can do a lot with it. And you look at people like Artist Opus, for example, on YouTube, and the stuff that he manages to achieve with nothing more than dry brushing is second to none. So when we're doing the rails, we want to highlight the rails, obviously. But what we will get as a sort of trade-off, remnant, happy accident, if we go into the center of these panels with the light dry brush, we do get a kind of dust effect, or I'm hoping that's how it will look once everything's together. So we can see there that we get this sort of dusty finish, and we don't need a great deal of skill or a great deal of products or a great deal of anything to achieve that. And that's the idea. So if we feel like we need a bit more, we can add a bit more here and there. Do this center plate here, mainly focusing on the edges, but as I say, if we go into the center a little bit, we end up with this kind of dusty effect, or that's how I see it anyway. As I say, like with everything I do, I'm not saying this is how you should do it, this is just how I do it. And creating this dust effect on the floor, which is exactly what we're after. Obviously on the drivers section we go a bit heavier because that'll be the most used bit of the floor, around the pedals, etc. And it's as simple as that. That's taken me less than 5 minutes really, and that will pretty much do for the floor. Then we'll add in the gear sticks and all that sort of stuff. Bit there. Camera never lies, does it? So there we go. So that's our sort of floor plan, or floor pan rather, not floor plan. You can tell I'm in the process of buying a house, can't you? Floor plan. There we go. And that will do. So that's the actual floor of the driver's cab. Make sure you put your lid back on your paint. That's me, I know. And what we've also done is these sections here. So you've got step 22, which looks like some sort of control box, communications mechanism box, whatever. Because we're in the parade version rather than operational, this wouldn't be open. So what we've done is we've just made it in the closed up position, and it is just a plastic box. It's very, very easy. And then this bit here, I'm not sure what this would be on the real vehicle, but that's step 23, so that's done as well. So they're ready. So then we move on to step 24 and 25, where we're putting in the back, or we're constructing the back of the cab, and then we're down to dashboard, etc, etc, etc. So that's the plan really. That's what we're gonna start with. I'm gonna construct those pretty much off camera. There's no need for you to see me gluing flat bits of plastic together. It's pointless. And we're also doing the spare wheel to go in the spare wheel holder that I showed you earlier, putting the seats together, and then we'll move on to the glass itself, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that, and put in the clear parts, sorry, miles away, clear parts, masking, etc, etc. And then essentially we're putting the cab all together, and it will be ready then in step 30 and 30, well, yes, step 30, 31 moves on to the flatbed, which will be in the next video, but step 30, where we're putting on the spare wheel holder and the cab onto the chassis without the doors. so on and so on. But what we are doing, if you look in step 24, is construction of the dashboard, etc. Now, what we have here, like Blue Peter, isn't it? So what we have here is the dashboard. So if I move those out of the way, I can focus a bit better. So at the moment, it's just in primer. It's one piece, and you can see the detail. So we're going to mask off this section here because the rest of it is in green. And then this section, for example, fits over the top there. That went well, didn't it? This section fits onto the dashboard itself, some sort of communications type array, targeting. I'm not even going to bother, I'm having a nightmare. There's no decals for the dials, but they would be black. So we may just use a dry brush to pick out the surrounds of the dials, and then maybe just drop in some LP9 or something like that, just to, you know, try and create the effect of glass, or certainly high density of plastic. We'll see. I will try and find some reference pictures of the dashboard, and then we're putting on these bits and bobs and moving on. So we're going to do all that, and then we're going to come back, see all the pieces individually, and then we're going to start assembling the cab and getting it in some sort of order. So I'll see you very, very soon. Okay, folks, so as I said, we're putting the cab together, but I thought it was quite important to, because some people who are watching this may not know how to mask a canopy or how to mask clear parts, etc. So if we look on the front of the cab, I've done one window, which isn't yet glued in. So as we can see, that is masked off using Tamiya tape, which we will then spray black. So that's what we're doing. And then we've got this sort of front of the vehicle with no glass in it, which is quite important. It's a windscreen. So the clear part itself, and they're very good clear parts. You can see the clarity through the glass. So really, it's quite a simple mask set. So we've got this surround. I get my toothpick. We've got this surround here, and then we've got this sort of bit here that we need to mask off. So we've got like a little side window. So if you look on the one that's already masked, we leave that free of mask so that it will be black. And that's how we do it. So the first thing we're going to do is get the mask onto this window. And I'll just show you one piece and show you how we do it. So we take a piece of masking tape. Now, if you stick this to your cutting board before you put it on, it will de-tack it, it's known as, which is essentially a way of reducing the level of the adhesive on the masking tape, which will make your life much, much easier when you come to remove it. So we're using the straight edge of the tape against the straight edge of the window. And then we have to, it's known as burnishing. So with a toothpick, cocktail stick, depending where you are, around the edge, we use the toothpick to get it right up against where we need it to be. Like so. And the contour of the outline, basically. Like so. So as you can see, it's pretty much right against it. Then we take a very sharp blade, so either your hobby knife or a scalpel blade, like I'm using. This is 10A from Swan Morton. and you just gently, with a new blade ideally, so it's nice and sharp around the edge. So you can place it on your cutting mat. Let's move it there so you can see. And you just follow. Don't try and do it all in one go, because you'll end up slipping, scratching it, etc. So maybe 3 or 4 very gentle passes with your scalpel or your sharp blade, like so. Now, for some of you, I will be teaching, take that away, and there you go. And then when you place that on the part, what it will allow is this sort of black rubber seal around the piece you need it to be, or in this case it may be green. We'll have a look, but I think it may be black. And then the same on the other side. So we've got this straight edge here, so we make sure that it's burnished, so it's really close. Again, some gentle passes so you can feel it just about. Gentle passes with your scalpel blade. Like so. And then we take that off. And what should happen, all being equal, is again, we've got that nice, and we've even got the curve here. So that's how you do it. I appreciate for some of you this will be sucking eggs, basically. But there are some people that may be watching that don't know how to do it. Now, what happens is, quite often, if you paint it black and put that in like so, and obviously on the other side, it's completely smooth. So what we can do is just put masking tape across that, cut it round, and then we have no issue. But what happens is, once that's in place, or what can happen, it's quite common, you see it quite a lot, is you end up with a shiny edge of the clear part here around, and it's quite visible on the model, and it looks a bit unnatural. So the way we get around that is very, very simple. So we use one of these things called a Sharpie. So before we paint, we just, along the edge, use the side of the Sharpie, like so, along the edge of the window seal, or the rubber seal. Might need a few passes, because obviously it's onto quite shiny plastic, like so, all the way round. This is how I do it anyway. So what you don't want to do ideally is go over the actual bit that you're going to paint, because Sharpies or something in the ink can affect it. But if you just do it around the edge, what happens, so let's move that out of the way. What happens then is when that piece is glued into place, it kills that shiny surround, and it just looks a bit more natural. It's a very quick step that took seconds, but it's absolutely worth doing, whether that be on clear parts on vehicles or on canopies, etc. So I'm going to carry on mask this. Then I'm going to spray these black. I'm going to look at some reference pictures, and they'll either be black or green. If they're green, that's fine, because they can go in. I can glue them in place. If they're black, then I can spray them black, and they can go in once all this is painted. We've done exactly the same on the rear window. So if I turn it over, you can see we've done the black surround, the rubber, and we've done exactly the same there. That will stay masked for now, until obviously it's all green, all painted. Then we'll remove the masking tape, and we should be left, all being well, with completely clear parts. So anyway, I'm going to crack on, do a few bits off camera now you've seen that, and then we're going to come back and see the cab sort of coming together. So I'll see you in a minute. So folks, what we're going to do, as you can see, the dashboard is all painted, but there's no decals for these dials here. So at the moment they are just flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and just get these decals just a bit shiny to give the impression of sort of glass or you know, high density shiny plastic. So the product we're going to use to do that is this stuff, which is aqua gloss. So whatever you do, don't shake the bottle. That would cause you all sorts of dramas. Then I'm just going to use a toothpick dipped into the aqua gloss, and then what I'm going to do is just in the center of the dial is just start to put some aqua gloss. Bit too much there, which is fine, because if you get a bit too much straight away, it says, as I try and grab one, oh, taking a bit of time, should have had one ready really. Preparation is key, so just soak that up with a cotton bud before it dries and before it goes all shiny. So what we're doing, as I say, just in the center of the dials to give the impression that they're a little bit different to the rest of the dashboard. And it's as simple as that. It's not a difficult thing to do, and it won't be seen really, but it just gives a bit of an impression. Now you can see there the ones that are starting to settle and dry already. You will have this milky consistency, however it will dry shiny. Just luckily the dials are quite pronounced, so it does give us like a bit of a template to work with, and that will dry nice and shiny. Job done. As I say, you won't really see it, but we know it's there, don't we? So that's the product we're using, which is aqua gloss. You can still get hold of that. Alclad as a company have stopped trading now, but this stuff, oh, excuse me with my camera. This stuff, the A-Stand 2503 Aqua Gloss Clear, it's the same stuff. So you can still get it if you haven't got any old Alclad Aqua Gloss lying around, and that will dry lovely. Right, let's crack on. Hi guys, just a quick interruption. If you're enjoying the video and you're enjoying the channel, can I please ask you to consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button, sharing the video and all that good YouTube stuff. It costs you absolutely nothing and it helps us out massively. Anyway, enough from me. Let's go back to the video. Okay folks, so we're all painted for the cab, and we're kind of good to go for the final assembly. So we worked through steps 20 all the way through to step, now I'm asking, pretty much to step 29. The only things that we haven't added yet are the shovel, and we haven't added the fire extinguisher, because they'll be painted separately and then added right at the end. But aside from that, everything is done. So according to the instructions, this fits kind of in there, which then fits on there, then the back goes on there. Obviously the windows go in, and then the roof goes on top. And then once that's done, the side step goes on the bottom here, in that sort of way, which provides us with the side step for the crew. And that's it. So I'm going to get all these bits together. Very, very simple. Extra thin and CA glue, pretty much. What I use for clear parts is this stuff, which is Deluxe Materials. It's actually photo etch glue, but it dries in a very clear, it's very strong, and it dries in a very clear way. And it cleans up literally with water. It's like very strong PVA. So I can show you on here where I've been using a bit of it. You can see how clear that's dried, this bit here, which is just a blob of it. So yeah, it's very good stuff. Very, very good. So anyway, I'm going to get that done, and then we're going to come back, see the cab together, roughly where it's going to locate onto the chassis, and that will be the end of the video. So I'm going to get this bit together. See you very soon. Okay, folks, so the cab is together. Obviously, there are a couple of pieces that aren't yet on. Window wipers, the shovel, and the fire extinguisher, and obviously the doors. The doors come later in the instructions, so that's fine. But the cab itself is all together, went together really well, no issues really. And it is as is. So it's all painted all together. Might need a little bit of glue there, to be fair. That's come a little bit loose, but that's not a problem. We could pop a bit of glue in this corner and hold it down. That's not an issue. But yeah, so for now, you can see, let me get a little pointer. So just around here, we have got a couple of very minor glue marks, but that cleans up with water once dry. So we'll get that all clean and sorted. No problem at all. But the cab is together. So what that means is, if I move that out of the way a second, and we get the chassis. Now, if we look at step 30, I believe it is, which is there, of the instructions. Now, obviously, as I said, we haven't put the spare wheel holder on yet. But the cab itself fits onto these, or this section of the chassis here, with this green subframes. Now, I've not tried this yet, so you're going to have to bear with me a second, because what it's telling me is that these bits fit like so. And as you can see, that's a really good fit, and that is literally just placing it on there. And that gives you an idea of the vehicle itself. Obviously, we're going to construct the front wings, bonnet, etc. But that is how it fits on. And then the spare wheel holder behind this, etc., etc., and lots more bits and bobs. So that is where we're at. So I'm going to end this video here. In the next video, we move on to the construction of the flatbed and the actual missile launcher itself. And then obviously we're going to do doors and all that sort of stuff. We're keeping it fairly clean because we're doing the parade version. We've got some orange lights to go on top of here, window wipers, etc., etc. Little odds and sods that we won't put on yet, because the risk is we'll knock them off during sort of construction. But that's how our cab's going to fit on. And yeah, it's a lovely kit so far. No issues at all. Everything goes together really well. It's not a simple build by any stretch. A lot of detail, but everything fits. So it's kind of mini art without the photo etch. That's the way I would describe it. But anyway, until next time, guys, please leave a like on the video, leave a comment, let me know what you think, share the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and all that YouTube stuff. And until next time, guys, stay safe, and bye for now.